So what if a civilization's greatest threat didn't arrive wearing, like, a villain's uniform?
Right.
What if instead it came disguised as a smoother checkout process or a seamless onboarding flow?
Or just a helpful little checkbox.
Yeah, exactly. A checkbox asking you to, verify your identity just to keep the community safe.
It's honestly the ultimate blind spot. Because, I mean, we're neurologically wired to react to a predator in the bushes, right?
Oh, sure. Fight or flight.
Exactly. Or, a dictator shouting from a podium. But when the threat looks like administrative convenience, the societal immune system doesn't even trigger.
We just click accept and move on.
We really do.
And that is the exact premise of the stack of sources we're diving into today. So welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a document that is easily one of the most unique, satirical, and honestly unnerving texts I have read in a really long time.
It's quite the read.
It really is. It's called the Zyloth Diaries, Catch 44. And the entire thing is written from the perspective of an extraterrestrial archivist named Zyloth.
Which is such a wild concept.
Right. Zyloth is supposedly observing Earth from an outpost in the Olympus Mons caldera on Mars.
And it's just a brilliant literary device. Because by adopting this persona of an alien archivist, the author strips away all of our immediate emotional human biases.
Yeah, you can't really get defensive when an alien is making the observation.
Exactly. It forces you to look at human behavior the way a biologist looks at an ant colony. But we need to set the mission for you, the listener, right at the top here.
Yes, very important.
This is not just some science fiction thought experiment. It is a highly precise diagnostic tool for the reality we are living in right now.
Today.
Right now. The objective here is to decode how the overt, theatrical, dystopian warnings of the 20th century have quietly evolved into the invisible digital plumbing of today.
The stuff we don't even notice.
Precisely. We're going to give you a new lens to recognize the invisible gates that you pass through every single day.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because the author, this Martian archivist, takes a very defensive posture right on page 1.
Oh, highly defensive.
They dedicate an entire opening section to what they call calibration. They essentially, preempt the fact that the reader is going to absolutely hate the message.
And that's a necessary psychological move, I think. To understand the message, we first have to examine why the messenger expects us to instinctively reject it.
Right.
Historically speaking, why do we shoot the messenger when the news is structural and inconvenient? The author writes, and I love this quote, "I keep arriving with pills that are difficult to swallow. This is not because I enjoy watching mammals negotiate with their gag reflex."
Such a great line.
It really is. It is because the alternative is serving dessert while the kitchen is on fire, which your species has repeatedly mistaken for optimism.
Serving dessert while the kitchen is on fire? I mean, wow. But I actually want to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Isn't what they're calling willful blindness really just human resilience? Like, we have to keep the economy moving. We have to keep our daily lives functioning.
So we have to go to work, buy groceries?
Right. If we stopped every time someone yelled that the sky was falling, nothing would ever get built. So is the author just being a cynic here?
Well, what's fascinating here is how the document actually addresses that exact defense.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The author isn't criticizing resilience. They're criticizing misaligned focus. They introduce this rule of geometry to explain it.
Geometry.
Yeah, the quote is, "If your legs are different lengths, wear the corrective insoles. Dignity is improved by geometry."
Okay, I think I see where this is going.
The point is that pretending a structural imbalance doesn't exist doesn't actually make you resilient. It just makes you walk with a limp while pretending you aren't in pain.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
True resilience, the dignity the author is talking about, comes from measuring that imbalance accurately and applying the fix, even if admitting you need the fix is embarrassing.
Which brings us to the core warning about how we build things. The author pleads with us to look at the architecture of our society before it's too late.
Yes, the architecture.
They write, if a civilization keeps adding gates that identify, classify, rank, delay, and route people, do not wait until the gate grows teeth before admitting you are looking at architecture.
And we really have to pause on that word, architecture.
Right.
A single gate, say a background check to open a bank account, it doesn't have teeth.
No, it's just a form.
Exactly, it's an administrative hurdle. It seems harmless, perhaps even beneficial for preventing fraud. But if you connect 1,000 of those bloodless administrative gates across every sector of life,
Like banking, housing, travel.
communication, employment, all of it,
Yeah.
you haven't just created a secure system.
Yeah.
You've built a comprehensive, interlocking maze.
Right.
The author is begging us to recognize the blueprint of the maze while it's still being framed, rather than waiting until we are trapped in the center to ask who designed it.
And to illustrate why we are so historically bad at recognizing that blueprint, the author brings up the Spartan pit problem.
I love this analogy.
It's so good. Zyloth compares their job to the envoys who arrived in Sparta to warn that the Persian Empire was invading.
The messengers.
Right, the messengers. The messenger has to deliver this existential news while carefully tiptoeing around the edge of the pit, trying not to give the Spartan king an excuse to kick them in.
Exactly. Because what did the Spartans do when faced with undeniable, terrifying structural news?
They yelled, "This is Sparta!" and kicked the guy down a well.
They threw the messenger down a well and went right back to their immediate political squabbles. The psychological defense mechanism is to attack the delivery system of the bad news rather than dealing with the bad news itself.
Right, but let's ground this a bit for the listener. Because we love the idea of warnings, don't we?
We do, in theory.
Like, look at our pop culture. We love Cassandra. We love the lone scientist who predicted the earthquake or the asteroid.
Was the hero in the movies.
Exactly. But in reality, we despise the admin of warnings. I'd compare it to ignoring a check engine light on your dashboard.
Oh, that's a perfect parallel.
Right. The car is still doing 70 miles an hour on the highway. You're making good time.
The music is playing, the AC is on.
Yeah. So when the mechanic passenger points out the flashing light, you get angry at the passenger. Because fixing it requires pulling over, disrupting your momentum, and, spending money.
That is highly accurate. We prioritize kinetic momentum over structural integrity. And this is where the author introduces a concept that I think is the most chilling in the entire first section.
Okay.
They discuss how, as an archivist watching civilizations rise and fall, you start to notice the rhythm of collapse before the drums even become audible.
Oh, I remember this part.
The exact phrasing is, you notice the procurement memo before the cage has a name.
Wait, okay. The procurement memo before the cage has a name. Let's really break that down. Are they implying that authoritarianism or dystopia isn't some dramatic sudden coup?
No, not at all.
That it's actually just boring paperwork?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is precisely the argument. Oppressive systems aren't initially built by evil masterminds in a volcanic lair.
Stroking a white cat.
Right. They are built via standard, mundane corporate and government procurement processes.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, say a city council requests a proposal for smart streetlights to save energy.
Sounds reasonable.
Totally reasonable. Then a vendor adds an optical sensor to track traffic patterns.
Okay, helpful for urban planning.
Then another vendor integrates a facial recognition API for, quote, public safety.
Ah, and there it is.
Right. It's all done via quarterly budgets, compliance standards, and procurement memos. No one sets out to build a surveillance cage, but the cage gets built anyway.
Which leads directly into what I consider the thesis statement of this calibration section. You notice the polite phrase, eligibility review, doing the social work of a locked door.
And this is where we have to shift our thinking from physical constraints to digital ones.
How so?
If I physically lock a door to keep you out of a building, that is a hostile kinetic act. You can see the door, you can see the lock.
You can bang on the door, you can be angry at me.
Ah, exactly.
Yeah.
But an eligibility review, that is entirely bloodless. It's a deferral.
It's an algorithm telling you to wait.
Precisely. And the effect on the human being is mathematically identical to the locked door. You are denied access to the resource.
Wow.
But socially, legally, and psychologically, you have no recourse. You can't be mad at a locked door the same way you can be mad at a loading screen.
You just stare at the little spinning wheel.
Right. The text demands that we keep enough composure to ask the difficult structural questions. When you are stuck in that eligibility review, who actually owns the underlying data?
Yeah.
Who controls the gate? Who audits the machine learning model that flagged you?
And more importantly, who corrects the error when the system inevitably hallucinates and decides you shouldn't be allowed to buy groceries today?
That's the million-dollar question.
So assuming you, the listener, are calibrated, assuming we've all put on our corrective insoles and swallowed the bitter pill, what is the actual diagnostic truth we are ignoring here?
The big reveal.
The document moves into a massive paradigm shift. It argues that we are essentially scanning the horizon for the wrong kind of dystopia.
Yes. Our cultural immune system is calibrated for the threats of the 20th century, which leaves us entirely defenseless against the reality of the 21st.
The author lays this out as a stark mechanical contrast between the year 1984 and the year 2044.
1984 versus 2044.
Right. George Orwell's 1984 was fundamentally about forced visibility and overt punishment.
It's the telescreen on the wall, monitoring your every facial expression.
Yeah, it's the thought police dragging you out of your bed in the middle of the night. It's that famous image of boot stamping on a human face forever.
But the archivist states that 2044 operates on an entirely different physical principle. Managed probability.
Managed probability. Let's dig into that.
Well, this raises an important question. Why would a modern system abandon the 1984 model?
Right. If fear works, why change it?
And the answer the document provides is simple economics and scalability.
Oh, interesting.
The 1984 model requires the state to spend immense resources. You have to hire the thought police, build the telescreens, maintain the torture chambers, and deal with the inevitable public blowback of visible cruelty.
It's expensive and messy.
Incredibly inefficient. The modern warning, as the text states, doesn't arrive wearing a black uniform and asking to be recognized by a menacing orchestral soundtrack.
Hold on, let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Our species clearly has a love affair with obvious villains. We want the bad guy to monologue. We want them to wear the theatrical hat, you know.
The cape.
The cape. So aren't we just sitting at the front door of our societal house waiting for a cinematic supervillain to kick it down with a dramatic explosion?
While completely ignoring the back door.
Exactly. While completely ignoring the fact that a team of highly polite, well-dressed bureaucrats is quietly changing the locks on the back door.
Well, that's not playing devil's advocate, honestly. That's exactly what is happening. We are inspecting the banners, waiting for the boot to drop.
But the boot never drops.
The author argues that the boot never dropped because it evolved. The machinery of control was made aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, that's
We equated frictionless user experience with safety. The author notes that a modern risk model never issues a punishment because punishment has terrible brand alignment.
right, bad PR. So what does it arrive as, if not punishment?
It arrives as a smoother checkpoint, a cleaner onboarding flow, a safer payment rail, a responsible community guideline policy.
Wow.
Society Red 1984 patted itself on the back for not establishing a literal ministry of truth, and then immediately proceeded to build biometric identity checks, automated risk models, and behavioral visa screens right into the wallpaper of daily life.
Into the wallpaper. That's the key right there. So let's dig into the how.
The mechanics.
Yeah. How does managed probability actually replace the boot? If the state isn't watching you directly to punish you, what is it doing?
In the 2044 model, multiple disparate systems calculate a probabilistic score of your behavior to decide if you are allowed to participate in society.
Right, so it's not one big computer.
No. The power doesn't come from a single dictator giving an order. It comes from an automated consensus of APIs.
Like systems talking to systems.
Exactly. Can other people see your posts? Can financial institutions trust you to move money? Can mobility networks allow you to cross a border?
The document says that punishment no longer looks like punishment. It looks like friction.
Friction.
It calls friction a marvelous word that humans use when they don't want to admit they've engineered a penalty. But I want you to ground this for me. When we say friction, what are we actually talking about mechanically?
Let's trace the wire.
Okay. How does a biased risk-scoring algorithm actually lead to a frozen payment without a human being ever making a decision?
Imagine you are attempting to wire money for a down payment on an apartment.
Okay, stressful enough already.
Right. In the old world, a human teller might look at you, look at your ID, and manually decide if something feels off.
They use their judgment.
But in a 2044 reality, the moment you hit send, an API call is made to a third-party risk-scoring vendor.
Before the money even moves.
Instantly. That vendor cross-references your device fingerprint, your IP address history, your behavioral biometrics, like how fast you type, and matches it against thousands of latent variables.
How fast I type? Are you serious?
Yes. Maybe your geolocation briefly pinged near a sanctioned entity 2 weeks ago. Maybe your purchasing habits correlate with a cohort that has a higher than average default rate.
And the algorithm flags it.
It doesn't just flag it, it generates a probabilistic risk score, say 88 out of 100.
Okay.
That score is passed back to the bank's automated compliance engine. The compliance engine has a hard-coded threshold. Anything over 85 requires an eligibility review.
Oh, there's that phrase again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No human looked at your file. No human decided you were a criminal. But the API webhooks triggered an automated freeze. You are now stuck in administrative limbo.
And think about the list of frictions the document provides to illustrate this. It's not just banking.
No, it's everywhere.
It's a delayed count, a frozen payment, a missing search result,
An extra airport screening.
a secondary customs inspection, a visa refusal, a risk flag, a deboosted post on a social network,
A revoked software authorization.
a platform suspension, a cloud hosting termination, a passport renewal delay.
It goes on and on.
Right. And here's the insidious part. None of those individual events say you have been erased by the state.
Never.
They just say your profile requires review, or your payment could not be processed due to a violation of our terms.
So polite.
Right. When that happens, you don't feel oppressed by a tyrant. You feel annoyed by an IT glitch. You blame the Wi-Fi. You blame your cache. You don't realize you've just hit a structural wall.
Which brings us to the core mechanism of how this trap actually functions. Because if it's just a series of polite IT frictions, a listener might think, well, I'll just appeal the decision. I'll call customer service.
Which is usually a nightmare anyway, but yeah, you'd think you could just call someone.
And that leads to the document's central concept, Catch 44.
Here is where it gets really interesting. The author calls this the sequel logic to Catch-22.
I love this framing.
We all know Catch-22 from Joseph Heller's novel, right? The paradoxical situation where contradictory rules make escape impossible.
You want to be grounded from combat missions because you're crazy.
Right. But asking to be grounded proves you have a rational fear for your life, which means you are sane, which means you have to fly.
It's a logical loop.
Exactly. But Catch-44 is structurally different.
It is worse because it's distributed. The definition of Catch-44 provided by the archivist is that every individual gate in the system insists it is perfectly independently reasonable.
Give me an example.
Look at a fraud screen at a bank. Is it reasonable to stop money laundering?
Obviously, yes.
Yes. Look at a safety review on a social platform. Is it reasonable to stop harassment?
Definitely.
Yes. Look at payment compliance. Highly reasonable.
But, and this is the crux of the trap, because each gate can defend itself independently, the combined overarching trap is nearly impossible to challenge as a whole.
Because there's no single target.
Right. You can't sue this system because there is no single monolithic system. There are just dozens of reasonable, overlapping, independent gates.
The author nails this with what might be the most terrifying quote in the text. No one owns the cage because everyone only owns one bar.
Wow.
This is the terror of distributed, compartmentalized responsibility.
I really want to visualize this. It's like being stuck in a massive, sprawling labyrinth.
A maze.
Yeah, a maze. And the horrifying thing is that every single turn, every dead end, every locked door in this labyrinth was designed by a completely different committee for a completely good reason.
Right. The safety committee put up this concrete wall to prevent speeding.
The compliance committee locked that door to ensure data privacy.
The user experience team removed the exit signs because they caused visual clutter on the dashboard.
Visual clutter, exactly.
Yeah.
And the result is that you, the user, the citizen, cannot find the exit. If no one owns the cage, who do you even complain to?
You can't. If you call the bank, they say they rely on the risk vendor. If you call the risk vendor, they say their algorithm is proprietary and they just provide a score, not the final decision.
They point the finger right back at the bank.
Exactly. One inconvenience is just a mistake. 2 inconveniences are bad luck. But 7 gates failing simultaneously across your money, your speech, your work, your digital identity, and your reputation.
That's not bad luck.
No, that is architecture.
The document states that under this architecture, you are scored, routed, ranked, slowed, filtered, and made conditionally real.
Conditionally real.
That implies your very existence in society isn't a guaranteed right. It's a probabilistic state contingent on passing invisible background checks hundreds of times a day.
And this is where the author pivots from philosophy to engineering.
Oh, this is the scary part.
To prove that Catch-44 isn't just a paranoid abstraction, Zyloth breaks down the exact developmental blueprint of this architecture. They provide what they call the post-Orwellian stack, from watching to rooting.
The 7-layer stack.
It's a 7-layer developmental path.
We need to spend serious time here because this stack is the diagnostic X-ray we've been looking for. It explains how we get from basic cameras to conditional reality. Let's walk through these 7 layers.
Okay, let's do it.
Step 1, surveillance. The system says, I can see you.
Now, we need to elevate our understanding of surveillance here.
It's not just a guy looking through binoculars.
No, and it's not just a CCTV camera on a street corner or a basic tracking cookie on your browser. That's 1990s technology.
Okay, so what is modern surveillance?
Modern surveillance is about ambient data collection and telemetry exhaust.
Telemetry exhaust.
Yeah, it's the accelerometer in your smartphone, recording the unique cadence of your gait while you walk.
So my phone knows how I walk.
Yes. It's the smart thermostat recording when your house is empty. It's the biometric sensors in your smartwatch, tracking your heart rate variability throughout the day. It is the continuous invisible harvesting of the physical world into digital data points.
Which brings us to step 2, identification. I know it is you, because seeing data is useless unless you can bind it to a specific human being.
Exactly. This is the realm of entity resolution.
Entity resolution.
It's not just about typing in a username and password anymore. It's device fingerprinting, browser canvas hashing, and cross-device graphing.
Canvas hashing.
It's a way of identifying your browser based on how it renders images. So if you look at a pair of shoes on your laptop, the system uses probability to determine that the mobile phone currently on the same Wi-Fi network belongs to the same human entity.
Wow, so it links my devices without me ever logging in.
Exactly. It binds the ambient data to your legal identity, your financial identity, and your physical biometrics.
So now the system sees me and knows exactly who I am. Step 3 moves from gathering to interpretation. Pattern analysis. I know your habits.
This is where data brokers and behavioral algorithms really come into play. Once your identity is bound to a data stream, algorithms look for correlations using techniques like k-means clustering.
So they're grouping my behaviors.
Yes. They aren't just looking at what you bought. They're looking at the metadata of how you live.
Like what?
What time do you typically open your email? Do you engage with content rapidly or slowly? Who are the 5 people you physically co-locate with most often based on GPS overlaps?
Oh my God, they know who I hang out with.
They define your behavioral vector based on all of this.
And once they have your pattern, we cross a massive Rubicon into step 4. Prediction.
I know what you may do.
This is the shift from analyzing the past to modeling the future. The system uses probabilistic models like Markov chains or advanced neural networks to anticipate your next state.
My next late.
Yeah, so if a user exhibits pattern X, there is a 78% probability they will exhibit behavior Y within the next 30 days.
So this is like predictive policing.
Yes, predictive policing algorithms attempting to guess where crime will happen. But it's also commercial algorithms predicting a major life event, like a pregnancy or a divorce, before you've even told your family.
Just so they can serve better ads.
So they can alter your advertising routing, yes.
Yeah. Which naturally and terrifyingly leads to step 5, risk scoring. I classify you before you act. This is the Minority Report phase, but without the psychic mutants. It's all math.
Automated thresholding. Based on the prediction of what you might do, you are assigned a numerical value representing your risk to the system.
Are you high risk for a loan default?
Are you high risk for violating a platform's terms of service?
Are you high risk for committing a fraudulent transaction?
Right. You are classified entirely on latent variables before you've actually done anything wrong.
And this classification isn't just an academic exercise in a server somewhere. It triggers step 6, access control. I decide what you may reach.
This is where the physical and digital doors actually lock.
The gates.
Based on that invisible risk score calculated by an opaque algorithm using data you didn't know you generated APIs, communicate with gateways to restrict your movement.
Give me an example of what that looks like.
Your credit limit is suddenly lowered. Your ability to comment on a public forum is disabled. Your smart car refuses to start because the leasing company's automated API detected a missed payment flag.
It's the automated enforcement of the risk score.
Exactly.
Which culminates in the 7th and final layer of the stack. Step 7, statistical disappearance. You still exist, but systems stop routing the world toward you. I really want to dissect this because it flips the entire concept of a dystopia on its head.
What's fascinating here is the mechanics of banishment.
Right.
Historically, if a state wanted to banish you, they physically exiled you or threw you in a gulag.
You were physically removed from society.
Statistical disappearance requires no physical force. Post-Orwellian control doesn't need to erase a person legally. It only needs to lower their operational probability across enough digital systems until their friction level reaches absolute zero.
But wait, doesn't someone notice if a person is just statistically disappeared? Don't their friends notice? Doesn't the economy notice?
No, because they just look unlucky. They look like they're having a string of bad tech days. To make this visceral, The author uses this incredible, haunting metaphor of the polite clerk.
I remember this part.
Imagine walking through your physical city, but every single door, the grocery store, the subway, the bank, the office, have a polite, well-dressed clerk standing in front of it, holding a tablet.
Okay, painting the picture here.
None of them ban you from the city. None of them have weapons. But you go to buy a coffee, and the clerk smiles and says, "I'm sorry, your payment failed."
So you walk to your office, and a clerk at the lobby turnstile says, "I apologize, but your ID needs review. Please wait."
And you try to get on a bus to go home, and a clerk says, "Your mobility account is temporarily limited."
You try to book a flight, and the clerk says your travel requires extra screening.
You apply for a job, and the automated portal says, "Your application could not be verified."
After you encounter enough of these polite clerks, what is your reality?
It's zero.
You are still physically, legally present in the city. You are breathing the air. But practically, economically, socially, you are completely absent. You've been shadow banned from physical life.
Shadow banned from physical life. That's a great way to put it.
The quote that absolutely slayed me was, "Congratulations, you have discovered bureaucracy with a nervous system."
It's a bureaucracy that learns, adapts, and shares your risk score across domains at the speed of light. And the author makes a very pointed statement here. The components of this 7-layer stack are no longer hypothetical white papers.
This isn't the future.
Identity binding, commercial data markets, biometric borders, financial watch lists, automated visas, social media screening, every single piece of this infrastructure currently exists and is operational.
It's already here.
We've assembled the pieces of the maze, and denying it requires active, exhausting effort at this point.
Now, if this infrastructure is so pervasive, why haven't we noticed it taking over?
We're distracted.
The document anticipates this exact pushback, and it leads into a highly delicate transition regarding geopolitics. The author explicitly addresses the comparison between the United States and China.
Right. And as a rule for this deep dive, we need to be clear that we are going to report exactly what the text asserts without taking any political sides or endorsing any system.
We are just looking at the architecture.
Strictly looking at the mechanics.
Right.
So the document states right off the bat that China and the United States should not be treated as politically identical.
Why? They aren't this.
The author explicitly acknowledges that international monitors like Freedom House rate the U.S. as free and China as not free.
The document is very clear that institutional reality still matters. It points out that democratic breaks like independent courts, investigative journalists, elections, and civil society still function differently depending on where you are.
Yes.
The author even throws in a dry joke, saying that having to state this obvious fact before humans begin yelling at furniture says a lot about our tribal instincts.
It's pretty funny. So there is a clear acknowledgement of the different political systems. But here's the core provocative thesis of this section. Political difference does not erase architectural convergence.
This is the concept they call different paint, same plate.
Exactly.
According to the text, China paints its control model, its social credit systems, its surveillance networks with the language of order, stability, trustworthiness, and the security of the party.
While America paints its control model with the language of freedom, physical safety, market efficiency, fraud prevention, national security, platform policy, and user identity assurance.
Different paint jobs, different aesthetics. But, the author argues, the underlying plate being served is identical.
The plate is the 7-layer stack. Regardless of the political system, both rely on identity binding, mass data harvesting, predictive analytics, risk classification, and API-driven access control.
So the mechanism is the same.
To use the author's metaphor, one city serves this architectural meal under red banners and state mandates, while the other city serves it beside bright storefronts, friendly app icons, and corporate customer experience language.
Plus a refreshing, sugary beverage called choice.
Exactly. The danger, the text warns, is confusing the tablecloth for the meal itself. It's a profound warning not to get so caught up in arguing over the ideological branding of a system that you fail to recognize the mechanical reality of the plumbing being laid down under your feet.
Which forces us to evaluate those democratic breaks.
Yes, it really does.
Exactly. That's what I was wondering. If the plumbing is essentially the same, if the mechanisms of routing, eligibility, and delay are converging globally, do the democratic breaks, like privacy laws or the threat of public embarrassment for a tech company, do they actually stop the vehicle from being built? Or do they just slow it down to a more acceptable speed?
That is the exact tension the document wants the reader to sit with. Are legal breaks strong enough to overcome the massive momentum of the infrastructure trap? Well, the architecture of Catch 24 isn't driven by malice. It's heavily incentivized by efficiency, profit, and security. And efficiency and security are universally desired, regardless of the political system.
Right, everyone wants fewer credit card frauds.
Exactly. An automated fraud screen is cheaper than a human review board. Therefore, the architecture will inevitably expand unless met with overwhelming structural resistance.
To really hammer home how absurd our distraction with the tablecloth is, the alien author zooms out, way out.
Intergalactic scale.
We get 2 parables of warning from a cosmic perspective. And this is where the tone of the document shifts from technical analysis into some really dark intergalactic humor.
The author wants to illustrate what it looks like when an entire civilization argues over aesthetics while its very survival is mathematically at stake. They start with a parable from their own home, Mars.
Right. Zyloth lives near the Olympus Mons caldera. But apparently, long before Mars became a dead, dusty rock, there were 2 main political factions. The high overview dwellers around the Olympus volcanoes, and the great rift communities down in Valles Marineris.
And according to the archivist's historical records, the rift people built these incredible hanging gardens threaded along the canyon walls.
So cool.
Massive irrigation veils, mineral terraces, whole neighborhoods perfumed by plants that were genetically engineered to survive the planet's shifting pressure changes.
But those pressure changes were something the politicians completely refused to address. So you have the Olympus dwellers up high feeling intellectually superior, and the rift dwellers down low, proud of their beautiful gardens.
What do?
Both groups concluded that their way of life was the only valid one, and that the other side was composed of incompetents, elitists, or bureaucrats with terrible taste.
They were locked in a perpetual, exhausting aesthetic and ideological debate. The Olympus councils accused the rift settlements of romantic canyon provincialism,
while the rift councils accused Olympus of elitist, disconnected sabotage.
Both sides funded massive public relations campaigns and produced excellent high-budget documentaries proving exactly why their hanging gardens or their volcano views were more authentically Martian.
Meanwhile, and this is the tragedy, the atmosphere thinned. The planetary pressure alarms shifted from emergencies to routine background noise.
They just got used to the alarms.
The water chemistry became toxic. Children in both the canyons and the volcanoes had to learn how to operate emergency pressure seals before they were taught the old cultural songs.
And then comes the most devastating line in the entire document. Then Mars lost the argument with physics.
Physics always wins.
They were so busy arguing about who was a better Martian that they ignored the dying planet beneath their feet. Physics doesn't care about your documentaries.
And what is the punchline? Now, the survivors live deep underground in sealed bunkers. And what do they do with their time? They watch infotainment programs about who counts as a real Martian.
It's so bleak.
Rift descendants arguing with Olympus descendants on talk shows. The author notes that each faction gets customized lighting, dramatic music, real-time audience metrics, and a sponsor selling extruded fungus protein shaped to look like their lost ancestral cuisine.
The archivist cynically observes that this allows the average Martian to concentrate on private life without being too annoyed by a counterproductive quarrel. It's a system perfectly designed for emotional sedation rather than civilizational learning.
They turned their planetary failure into a reality TV franchise.
They really did.
So the Martians weren't any wiser than us. They just have better, higher resolution archives of their failure. But if you think we're acting like the Martians, wait until we talk about the second parable. Teller 3.
Oh yes, Teller 3. This is the author's ultimate low watermark comparator for planetary social development. It's a planet located about 589 light years away.
The author introduces a metric, a key performance indicator for civilizations, called sane decisions per orbit. And Teller 3 is the absolute bottom of the barrel. It's described as a warm, wet, oxygen-bearing mud ball.
The biosphere is actually quite robust, but it's mostly microbes, massive fungal towers, and deep soil systems that do the actual work of planetary maintenance.
Yeah.
But the dominant tool-using species, the Tellurians, are the ones causing the headaches for the archivist.
The Tellurians have just enough cognition to create basic irrigation, metallurgy, symbolic language, and astronomy. They can map the stars,
Which is impressive.
but they do not have enough cognition to stop interpreting different layers of dirt as evidence of divine preference.
This is the crux of the Teller 3 tragedy. They literally argue about the color of sediment. They debate lighter lowest bands versus darker basaltic flood deposits.
They turn basic geology into a violent theology.
One political faction says the lighter surface layer of dirt indicates cosmic favor. The other faction insists that the darker basaltic material proves a superior origin mythology.
And they hold brutal moral tribunals over this, performing what the author calls the usual comedy routine of species development, using spears first and writing the legal codes to justify the spears later.
Meanwhile, as they wage war over dirt color, they are completely ignoring the massive erosion of their topsoil, the shifting volcanic chemistry, and the depletion of their water flow.
The big picture stuff.
The Tellurians are destroying their habitat to prove who owns the best dirt. The author writes, "Whenever Earth disappoints me, I compare you against Teller 3 and remind myself that evolution is a long process and that the universe contains worse committee minutes."
So what does this all mean for us? The dark humor here is that this alien is treating our existential planetary crises like annoying corporate committee meeting minutes that they have to file away. But the point is incredibly sharp.
Very sharp.
We are acting exactly like the Tellurians. We are arguing passionately about the color of the sediment, our political paint, our ideological tablecloths, our brand identities, while entirely ignoring the massive, invisible infrastructure of control being built around us.
We are holding moral tribunals about the paint job, while the kitchen is on fire and the automated gates are locking. The document bluntly states, "Keep arguing about the moral implications of sediment color, while the watershed files a complaint in chemistry."
And the follow-up line, "The results were measurable," which is the polite scientific term for depressing.
Exactly. So let's synthesize the core journey we've taken today through the Zyloth Diaries. We started by examining our expectation of a 1984-style dystopia. We were looking for the boot, the uniform, and the forced visibility.
And we discovered that we are actually living in a 2044 reality. A frictionless bureaucracy of managed probability, where Catch-22 has evolved into an infrastructure trap called Catch-44.
The cage isn't made of steel bars owned by a tyrant. It's made of independently reasonable APIs, algorithms, and gates managed by different committees.
We walk through the 7-layer post-Orwellian stack, seeing how society moves from ambient surveillance to identification, pattern analysis, prediction, risk scoring, access control, and ultimately statistical disappearance.
We saw how different political systems might paint the control differently, but the underlying plate of data collection and automated routing remains identically dangerous.
And we looked at the parables of Mars and Teller 3 to realize how easily a tool-using species can be distracted by aesthetic arguments, while their structural, physical reality collapses underneath them.
But the document doesn't end on pure, unadulterated despair. There was one sliver of hope for Earth compared to Teller 3.
Right, there is some hope.
The alien archivist mentions that, unlike the Tellurians, we have Charles Darwin in our historical archive.
Yes, the Darwin silver lining. The author points out that despite our relentless efforts to turn every scientific insight into a brand or a political battlefield, Darwin actually gave us a tool for structural understanding.
The quote is quite beautiful. "Variation is not a curse, ancestry is not a courtroom, and life is not a morality play staged by sediment."
Such a great way to view it.
Darwin taught us to look at the cold mechanics of adaptation. He taught us to observe how systems evolve without assigning moral blame to the environment. The author is suggesting we use that same cold mechanical observation to dismantle the 7-layer stack.
So for you listening, this isn't just abstract philosophy or a fun sci-fi thought experiment. This is about the world you navigate every single day.
Every time you log on.
The next time you get a payment failed notification, or a message that your profile requires review, or even an email saying the terms of service have been updated, you are looking at the architecture.
You're encountering one of those polite clerks standing at the door.
And the document explicitly tells us what the exit handle to this maze looks like. It requires pushing back against the friction. We need to demand transparency, clear avenues for redress, algorithmic audits, narrow purpose limits for data collection, and strict contestability for every consequential gate.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to mull over as you go about your week. We've talked extensively about how no one owns the cage because everyone only owns one bar. We've talked to the polite clerks and the API-driven access controls.
The whole system.
So ask yourself this week, in the digital routines you rely on most heavily, your barking app, your primary communication platform, the software you need to do your job, if the system decided to statistically disappear you tomorrow based on a flawed risk score, you know which human being you would actually call to get your reality back.